Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos, and while I AFK here waiting for Dragonbane Keep to happen, we have a new set of alpha patch notes that have just come out a couple hours ago. Actually, I was a little slow on getting this video out, sorry. As we do have a rare Tuesday update rather than the Thursday update, perhaps because of Mop Remix coming out this Thursday. So here are the changes. Earthen are now available to test, and their introductory questline. Cool. Shaman, Totemic Hero Talents Tree, is now testable, which I believe is the second. I think there's a Rogue Tree that's still awaiting play as well. And then I think that's all of them. I'm not 100% sure on that, though, so we'll take a look at that. Probably tomorrow I'll have a video out looking at the Totemic Hero Talent Tree. Death Knight, we have the Frost DK rework overhaul thing. I wouldn't say rework overhaul, like basically every spec it seems like is getting a set of changes of about this length, so I don't think it's like they're specifically targeting Frost DK here. This is just Frost DK's turn to get the treatment that every spec seems to be getting. So we have a new talent, Shattered Frost. When Frost Strike consumes 5 Razor Ice stacks, it deals 50% of the damage dealt to nearby enemies, reduce damage beyond 8 targets, and this is a new capstone talent after Shattering Blade. Cryogenic Chamber says each time Frost Fever deals damage, 15% of the damage is gathered into the next cast of Remorseless Winter up to 20 times. Arctic Assault says consuming Killing Machine fires a glacial advance through your target, available as a new capstone directly after Obliteration. I believe this was like a Sepulcher set bonus or something like that. I don't know, some Shadowland set bonus or something, I think. So pretty cool for the Obliteration build. Smothering Offense says your auto attack damage is, I guess the smothering offense, not offense. That probably makes more sense here. Your auto attack damage is increased by 5%. This amount is increased per stack of Icy Talons you have and can stack up to 2 additional times. So just a little bit more White Swing DPS, and presumably, of course, are going to try and always have all your stacks of Icy Talons. New talent, Icy Death Torrent. Your auto-attack critical strikes have a chance to send out a sleet of ice, dealing frost damage to enemies in front of you. Okay, you already do scale, crit on Frost DK generally, so more crit scaling here. New talent, the Long Winter. While Pillar of Frost is active, your auto-attack critical strikes increase its duration by 1 second up to a maximum of 5 seconds. So even more, both of these talents scale with crit and haste, right? Haste is going to increase your auto-attacks per second. Crit is going to increase your auto-attack crits per swing. So both of those together will make both of these talents better. Both of those are already stats as well that Frost DK generally, especially crit, has liked in the past. So it depends a little bit on if you're playing like Breath of Sindragosa or Obliteration, but this is definitely something that, adds quite a bit of value to that stat. Frost Scythe has been redesigned. A sweeping attack that strikes all enemies in front of you for frost damage, always crits, and crits with Frost Scythe deal normal damage, deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. Consuming Killing Machine reduces the cooldown of it by 1 second. It has a 30-second cooldown, and the rune cost is increased to 2, was 1. Okay, so I guess now the idea is that every 30 seconds... Or I guess probably every, the cooldown is going to get reduced when you spend your Killing Machines. But every time this shows up, every time this lights up, you're probably supposed to press it. But it's a little bit weird because it always crits, and crits deal normal damage. So it's always going to trigger crit synergies, but it's not... This is a ability that if you have 0 crit, it's doing its full thing, right? And so every point of crit is not going to help make Frost Scythe any better. Interesting. Usually that is a weird feeling thing whenever there's stuff in a rotation that, doesn't scale with the stat that all your other stuff does. Rhyme is now a baseline ability, learned at level 21. Breath of Sindragosa damage increased by 25%. Chill Streak can now bounce off the DK if a second enemy target isn't found. Okay, so they're just implementing that set bonus. Enduring Strength is now 1 point for 20% strength. Frostwhelp's Aid, 1 point, 8% mastery per target hit from 4. Killing Machine now stacks 1 additional time. Lovely. Everfrost is learned directly after Howling Blast. Frostworm's Fury has been moved directly after Ice Cap, Frostwhelp's Aid, and Enduring Strength. Absolute Zero has been shifted up to Gate 3, unlocked, positioned directly behind Frostworm's Fury. Shattering Blade is now available after Avalanche. Rune of Razor Ice now displays the debuff on the enemy nameplate, and they've removed Fatal Fixation, Cold-Blooded Rage, Invigorating Freeze, and moved around a couple of other things. I'm not going to look at the talent tree here, and I'm not enough of a Frost DK player to know what all this shuffling around means. So this is a go check with the Frost DK people. I know when I was reading the Destro changes last week, I kind of missed that avatar destruction was the thing that makes blasphemies, for instance. So I don't know exactly what these are and if there's anything as important being removed here. But my first glance at this is these seem like pretty cool new talents. We're gaining a couple of points here. I guess we're gaining a lot more new talents than we are gaining extra points from this. We are going to gain a couple of points from these going away, but maybe the economy overall here is still going to be a more restrictive talent tree where you can get less of what you want at the same time. And we'll see if they've succeeded at making Obliteration and Breath, both good at the same time, which has pretty much never been true. It's a very rare time for that to be true for Frost. All right, Druid. Druid of the Claw, which is a hero talent tree shared by Feral and Guardian. Bestial Strength increases Primal Wrath's direct damage by 50%, was 100, but the Dreadful Wound bleed damage has been increased by 25%. Okay. Tuning of hero talent trees, something that I don't have enough of an anchor on. I haven't looked at any logs of how hero talent trees are performing in alpha content, nor is there really particularly hard enough content on alpha to get that good of an idea anyways. And so I don't really have a take on these sorts of changes. But we have a bunch of changes here to the other hero talent trees as well. So to Keeper of the Grove and Wildstalker. So everything but Elun's Chosen. Keeper of the Grove, I don't think we want to read through all of this. I guess we should. So they're nerfing the damage of Dream Surge's Dream Burst. They're buffing the damage of the Force of Nature trees from Harmony of the Grove. They are increasing the melee damage of power that Power of Nature grants by 100%, was 20. Bounteous Bloom now causes each tree to generate 6 astral power every 2 seconds, was 3. Okay, so buff to the resource generation of this tree for Moonkin. Early Spring reduces the cooldown of Force of Nature by 15, was 10, so another buff there. Cenarius' Might has been updated. Entering Eclipse or casting Swiftmend increases your haste by 8% for 6 seconds. That seems particularly nice for Moonkin, because right after you enter Eclipse, that's a great time to be getting some haste. Power of the Dream no longer affects Cenarius' Might. Control of the Dream's maximum effect is increased to 15 from 5 seconds. I think this was the ability that gave you cooldown reduction if your spell came off cooldown and then you waited 5 seconds, you would get 5 seconds of cooldown reduction. If you waited 3 seconds, you'd get 3 seconds of cooldown reduction. But if you waited 7 seconds, you'd still only get 5 seconds of cooldown reduction. It looks like they're buffing that to 15. I think that's what's happening here. I think that's what this one was, which is a pretty awesome effect. I think that's potentially very neat for... There are some fights like Smolderon where it's just like really awkward, and it's like, if I hold my CDs a little bit, like maybe I can just squeeze these into this window. And something like this effect, if that is what this is, which I don't remember the name 100%, is really cool for that. Grove Inspiration's Wrath and Starfire damage bonus has been nerfed a little bit, and persistent enchantments has been replaced by potent enchantments. Orbital Strike applies Stellar Flare for 8 additional seconds and deals 30% increased damage. Greater Alignment increases the duration of Celestial Alignment by an additional 20% and increases Eclipse damage during Celestial Alignment by an additional 5%. The big paragraph for what it does for balance. Resto Reforestation gives you 2 extra seconds of Tree of Life. Okay. All right, Wildstalker, this is the Resto and Feral hero talent tree. Symbiotic Blooms now prioritize growing on injured targets. Big. Strategic Infusion's chance for your periodic heals to crit has been nerfed, but its duration's been buffed. Wildstalker's power has been updated. Rip and Ferocious Bite damage has been increased by 5%. Rejuve, Efflow, and Life Bloom healing by 10. There's a new talent replacing Wildstalker's Persistence called Lethal Preservation. When you remove an effect with Soothe or remove Corruption or Nature's Cure, gain a combo point and heal for 4% of your max health. If you're at full health, an injured party or raid member will be healed instead. Neat. Neat little benefit to casting Soothe or Dispel. Pretty small heal on that thing. But, gaining a combo point could be nice as Feral, if you're replacing a Shred Global or whatever with a Soothe. Obviously it's still worse, but it's less worse. Root Network now increases the healing of all abilities, not just Life Bloom and Wild Growth. Implant's been updated. When you gain or lose Tiger's Fury, your next single target melee ability causes a vine to grow for 4 seconds. Swiftmend causes a Symbiotic Bloom to grow for 4 seconds as well. Twin Sprout's chance to grow new vines has been increased to 20 from 10. Resilient Flourishing can now cause Bloodseeker thorns to spread to any nearby valid target, preferring ones that currently don't have thorns. Bursting Growth has been updated. When Bloodseeker thorns expire or you use Bite on their target, they explode in thorns, dealing physical damage to nearby enemies. Reduced above 5 targets. When Symbiotic Blooms expire or you cast Rejuve on their target, flowers grow around their target, healing them and up to 3 nearby allies. Cool. An Entangling Vortex now immobilizes affected units for 3 seconds. Also neat. Feral, we had a talent change that has been removed, I guess. A new talent that's been removed, Resourceful Hunter, so that's not actually coming in. Rampant Ferocity has been restored, replacing Resourceful Hunter. Ferocious Bite also deals damage per combo point spent to all nearby enemies affected by your rip, reduced beyond 5 targets. So trying to make sure that you're not just spamming Primal Wrath in AoE, I think, is the idea here. Rampant Ferocity damage relative to Ferocious Bite has been increased by 20%. So that will make it, I guess, even more appealing in AoE, the AoE component of this going up. And Tear Open Wounds has been removed. That's the bonus for casting, like for spamming Primal Wrath. So they really just want you doing one Primal Wrath, putting rips on everything, and then biting, probably, and not just spamming more Primal Wraths, which makes sense. Evoker Devastation. Animosity can no longer extend Dragon Rage beyond 16 seconds. So Animosity says when you use an Empower spell, you get 4 seconds extra of Dragon Rage, which you have 2 Empower spells, right? So you press Dragon Rage, you press Flame Breath and Eternity Surge, you get to your next Flame Breath, you press it, and you press your Eternity Surge, and now you've gotten 16 seconds. Now, getting to that third extension is a pretty difficult thing to do unless you have a lot of haste, and you're in Bloodlust, that kind of stuff. As you can hear, Dragonbane Keep going well in the background for me. That's good. Getting my Drake's Crests. Just what we like to see. Yeah, so basically they're making it so you can't get a triple extend on Dragon Rage anymore. This is going to lower the skill ceiling of Devastation by quite a bit, because that was always something that going for it and knowing when you could go for it was tough. Getting the second extension on your Dragon Rage basically just requires not screwing up. You can do it with like 0 haste and it's fine. And then if you have more haste, you can screw up and still do it. But it seems like they're trying to remove some of that highest high of Devastation. This makes it a lot less of a powerful PI target as well. And it probably makes haste scale the spec a lot less well, because now haste is no longer potentially offering you triple extensions on Dragon Rage. I guess at the start of an expansion, you have so low haste, it probably isn't doing that anyways. All right, Preservation. Time of Need is now triggering at 30% health, was 20. Passive now displays in Spellbook, and the cooldown can be tracked on the passive. Nice. Time of Need was a healing proc you could get. When you healed somebody below 20%, it procced once every minute, I think, and it showed up, like a little evoker from an alternate timeline would show up and would heal somebody, and then I think they would stick around for a little bit and keep doing healing, but it only procced once a minute. Making this trigger at 30% from 20% is situationally better and situationally worse. Probably, I think it's generally better, because 20% is a pretty low bar. So the problem with 20% or a really low trigger point for this sort of ability is that sometimes you just won't have a trigger. Like this is, a lot of your throughput. It could be a talent that offered a lot of throughput. It's on a 60-second CD. And if it's only triggering once every 2.5 minutes, then you're losing out on a lot of value in theory. But on the other hand, if the trigger value is too high, then instead it's just going to proc too early, and now it's not going to actually be proccing when people are in some danger. I suspect that 30% is a better benchmark for something where this will probably proc. After it comes off cooldown, it'll probably proc at some point in the next 20 seconds or so, but it will actually still be life-saving, right? Rather than running the risk of people just getting sent from 40 to 0 without proccing it. I think this is probably a buff, but I'm not 100% sure. Again, it's situational. Reversion's tooltip has been updated to include Golden Hours effect if the talent is learned, which Golden Hours, it heals the person based on their damage taken in the last 5 seconds when you reversion them. So potentially this could be really big tank healing on that effect. Okay, Mage. A new talent is available, Barrier Diffusion. Whenever one of your barriers is removed, reduces cooldown by 4 seconds, located in Dragon Breath's previous location. Interesting. I wonder how this interacts with, Mass Barrier. DB has been moved to Gate 2. Supernova has been added to the Mage class tree as a choice node with Dragon's Breath, but its cooldown has been moved up to 45 seconds. Ice Nova is now a choice node with Ring of Frost. Mass Slow has been removed. Ice Nova being a choice node with Ring of Frost is interesting. This is actually probably a nerf to Frost Mage, because Ice Nova is a DPS increase, because you'd press it to shatter some spells on CCable targets, whereas Ring of Frost, so now you probably won't take Ring of Frost as a Frost Mage, which is kind of a funny counter effect of this, whereas Fire and Arcane Mages will be totally fine taking Ring of Frost, so I've got to say I don't like that, actually. I feel like Ring of Frost should be something that you're like, oh, I'm queuing up with a Frost Mage. That's the spec that doesn't take Ring of Frost. I don't like that at all. Mass Slow has been removed, okay. Sun Fury. Visuals have been updated on Arcane Phoenix, and no longer cast Meteor as an exceptional spell. Cast Meteorite and Meteorite Barrage instead. Lessons in Debilitation no longer replaces the first exceptional spell with Supernova or Gravity Lapse, and now cast them alongside it. Cool. And the Arcane Phoenix now spell steals once when it's summoned and once when it expires. It used to be only once per second. It will only target units with stealable buffs. I wonder if this will ever grief you. Like, I wonder if you'll ever go into, say, Ruby Life Pools as an example. I know that's not going to be in this season, but you know how there's those channelers at the end of Ruby Life Pools that put a buff on themselves that, like, kills them over time? Imagine you go into one of those packs, you press Combustion, your Phoenix shows up, and it's like, ooh, spell steal that, and then your Phoenix dies. I wonder if that can happen. Invocation. Phoenix's Spellfire Sphere consumption effect has been moved to Codex of the Sunstriders. Over your Phoenix's duration, it will consume each of your Spellfire Spheres to cast an exceptional spell. I think it already was supposed to do that, yeah. Arcane. Arcane Battery's spell damage buff now stacks up to 4 times, was 5, but the duration is now 30 seconds, was 25. Lay Drinker now triggers after consuming Nether Precision 5 times. Crackling Energy and Improved Arcane Missiles are now 1 point. Reverberate has returned and is now in Gate 2. And Supernova and Rule of Threes have both been removed. Fire, they've implemented Pyromaniac. Fevered Incantation's been nerfed to 1% instead of 2. Lit Fuse has had its chance to trigger buffed to 10% from 5. Ingenuity now increases the chance to 20, was 10. Explosivo now increases Lit Fuse's chance to trigger to 40% while combustion is active. Convection now has a connection to Explosivo. Majesty of the Phoenix has been moved. Firestarter's position has changed, and Surging Blaze has been removed. And finally, Frost. Ice Barrier has been buffed to a 24% max health absorb from 22. Monk, Vivacious Vivification now additionally increases the healing of your next Vivify. I think this is the free Vivify every 10 seconds, but I'm not 100% sure. I think that's what this one is. Windwalker, Fury of Zhuan now increases Haste, Mastery, and Crit by 3%, was Crit by 5%. I think it was Haste before that. I think in the recent build it got turned to Crit, so now it's going to give you a little bit of everything. Okay. Paladin, Lightsmith. This is one of those hero talent trees that I think is one of the most commonly complained about ones, so let's see what they're doing with it. Valiance no longer increases the duration of active armaments. Cooldown reduction is unchanged. Okay, so a nerf there. Solidarity's tooltip has been updated to reflecting targeting change. I think I should say reflect. Blessing of the Forge has had targeting improvements and visual effects updates. Okay, so not really a rework or a change to the tree or anything like that. Ret Pally. Radiant Glory has been updated. Wake of Ashes activates wings for 10 to 12 seconds, and each holy power spent has a chance to activate it for 5 or 6 seconds. I thought that was already what it did. Oh, and then this is a bug fix that definitely is good that it's coming in, where it actually is going to extend instead of munching a proc if you already have it active. Cool. But yeah, I don't know what's changed here, because this was, if you asked me to say what Radiant Glory was, I would have said this already. Protection. Bastion of Light has been redesigned. Your next 5 casts of Judgment generate 2 additional holy power. Whew. That's a lot of Word of Glories or Shield of the Righteouses. Sanctuary has been redesigned. Consecration's benefit persists for 4 seconds after you leave it. A nice effect, hopefully something that you... The problem with a talent like this is that if you're choosing this as one of your choices against other throughput benefits, like you're probably not supposed to take it, right? Even though it's a big quality of life increase. So hopefully they've placed it somewhere that you just kind of have to path through in the tree. I don't remember where Sanctuary is in the tree. Light of the Titans is now a 1-point talent. Healing over time is now a % of its original value rather than attack power based. Bulwark of Order is now a 1-point talent. Separated Focused Enmity and Soaring Shield are now a choice node. Wait, Separated Focused Enmity and Soaring Shield are now a choice node. I thought these two were already a choice node, and now it says separated them are now a choice node. What does that mean? That's like, this would make sense. Is like, oh, now it's not a choice node anymore. But maybe I'm thinking of two different ones. I thought this was your shield does more damage if it only hits one target, and your shield hits 5 targets. And I thought that was already a choice node. I don't know. Light of the Titans and Tyrion's Devotion are now a choice node. Crusader's Resolve has been redesigned. Targets struck by Avenger Shield deal 10% reduced melee damage to you for 10 seconds. Nice. Melee damage as well. I wonder if this includes, like, magic damage on hit effects. That would be good. Strengthened Adversary now grants 5% parry per target, was 2%. Whew. That was already a good option in M+. That's a lot of parry. That's a lot of parry. Priest. So let's start with the shadow change down here. Shadow Crash now centers on your target rather than using a reticle to target a position on the ground. And it will chase your target, I believe, is what they were saying. Is how this was working right now. So if you Shadow Crash something, it's not like if it was moving, it's not going to hit. It's going to like aim at the thing you were targeting and land on that target. So that's a change there. Now, Void Weaver. The goal of these changes is to make Collapsing Void work better with Disc Priest's Atonement Ramp and make it more relevant for encounters with lower health enemies. For Disc Priests who want to better fit Collapsing Void into their Atonement window, they can choose Void Empowerment to help with that. Devour Matter felt like an odd choice against Void Empowerment, so now it's a node you're guaranteed to have. Entropic Rift duration's been nerfed. Void Torrent now immediately summons Entropic Rift and pauses its duration until the channel is complete or interrupted. Darkening Horizon extension has been capped at 3, down from 5 seconds. Void Empowerment has been redesigned for Discipline, extends your shortest 5 atonements by 1 second. Void Empowerment's now a choice node with Darkening Horizon instead of Devour Matter. And Shadow, Entropic Rift is now summoned by Shadow Crash instead of Void Torrent. But Void Torrent still immediately summons it and pauses its duration. Interesting. Inner Quietus has been redesigned. Shadow Crash deals 400% additional damage to its primary target. It used to be your dot damage increased by 20%. Okay. Is we're aiming Shadow Crash? I don't think it's something I'll miss. It was always funny whenever somebody would miss a Shadow Crash. I liked that. It was nice that you could pre-pull with it as well. Like, in some M+ cases, you could use it where a boss was going to spawn before it was actually targetable. I assume that is going to go now. You could still use it pre-pull on a boss in a raid because it's attackable, right? But yeah, that was a cool thing you could do with Shadow Crash, was like pre-planning, thinking around. But man, that feel when you aim a Shadow Crash somewhere and then your tank takes a surprise U-turn and the entire pack goes somewhere else. That's going to be probably good that that's gone. I don't know how I feel about changing the Void Weaver setup for it. I didn't play with the old Void Weaver. That was something I haven't yet tested on Alpha, so we'll see how that all turns out. Shaman, Farseer, Resto. In addition to increasing max mana, Primordial Capacity now also increases the max stack of Tidal Wave support. Sweet. This spec was already really fun. I've been playing that in some of my dungeons on Alpha, and yeah, this will be even nicer. Not that I really was tracking my Tidal Waves anyways on Alpha, but it'll be nice. I'll probably waste fewer of them. Warlock, Diabolist. Abyssal Dominion's been redesigned. For Demonology, summon Demonic Tyrant becomes empowered, dealing 70% increased damage and increasing the damage of your demons by 20% while active. Destro says Infernal becomes empowered, 40% increased damage. When it ends, it fragments into 2 smaller Infernals at 50% effectiveness that last 10 seconds. Cool. That's neat. That's a neat thing. I remember old Legion Destro, you would get like multiple Infernals when you pressed your Infernal. That was always cool. Okay, demo. We've got a lot of demo changes here. Demo changes have historically been unpopular on Alpha. They've basically taken Demonic Core Generation and nerfed it by a lot over the course of the last several builds. So let's see if they've got some fun stuff in store for this pack. The cooldown of Vile Fiend's been reduced to 30 seconds. The cooldown of Demonic Tyrant's been reduced to 1 minute. Okay, so you still have this pattern of 2 Vile Fiends per Tyrant, but now it's on a much faster cadence. Fell Invocation's been redesigned. Soul Strike deals increased damage and generates the Soul Shard. Pact of the Era Druid has been redesigned. When Doom expires, you summon a Doom Guard that casts 5 Doom Bolts before departing. Each Doom Bolt deals shatter damage. Ferocity of Farg has been renamed to Flame Touched and has been redesigned, increases the attack speed of your Dreadstalkers by 20% and their crit chance by 15%. Mark of Shatug has been redesigned. Your Summon Vile Fiend becomes Summon Gloomhound and learns Gloom Slash. which causes the Gloomhound's melee attacks to deal shadow damage. That a shadow damage dot that like builds up, like Devouring Plague style. New talent, Mark of Farg. Your Summon Vile Fiend becomes Summon Charhound, and learns Infernal Presence, which deals fire damage to enemies within 10 yards every 1 second. I wonder if this is a choice node or if you can get both of these, because these were the two Antoran Fellhounds, I'm pretty sure. And I think I saw a Wowhead post as well that said it uses the models from Fellhounds as well, which is sick. New talent, Shadow Touched. Wicked Maw causes the target to take 20% additional shadow damage from your demons. Foul Mouth increases Vile Fiend damage by 20%, and your Vile Fiend's Bile Spit now applies Wicked Maw. Houndmaster's Gambit says your Dreadstalkers deal 50% increased damage while your Vile Fiend is active. Blood Invocation says Power Siphon's cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds, and it increases the damage of Demon Bolt by an additional 20%. Fiendish Oblation says damage dealt by Grimoire Felguard is increased by an additional 10%, and you gain a Demonic Core when Grimoire Felguard ends. Can the players handle this much Demonic Core epicness? I don't know. We gotta look at that. Maybe that's too much. Maybe that's too much Demonic Cores here. Let's tone that one back a little bit. Let's turn that into a 35% chance. I think. Doom Eternal. Demonic Cores reduce the duration of Doom by an additional 2 seconds, and when Doom is removed, its cooldown is reset. Oh, sick. Okay, so now you have like a playstyle. I think this is much better than the way they implemented Doom the first time, where now you actually get some value out of reducing duration of Doom, because if Doom was just a dot that you could reduce the duration of, but it's had still a 30-second cooldown, it doesn't matter, right? Like, if my 30-second Doom explodes 20 seconds after I cast it versus 3 seconds after I cast it, that doesn't change anything unless the mob is going to die between 3 and 20 seconds from now, which is sometimes the case. But in a lot of cases, that's absolutely zero value. So making it cooldown reset when it's removed now gives you value for reducing its duration, which is good. Impending Doom increases damage of Doom by 20%, and Doom generates a soul shard on expiration. Okay, so even more value now in doing Doom properly. Implosion, Imp Gang Boss, and Inner Demons have moved. A lot of other stuff has moved. I'm not going to read all the things that are moved. They made a bunch of talents 1 point. Good lord, that's a lot of talents have been made 1 point. And they've removed a bunch of stuff as well. Cool. So again, I'm not a demo lock scientist. Demo lock is one of the specs that I would say I'm least familiar with. I try and be familiar with every spec, but demo is definitely one of the ones that I personally, I haven't played this since Sylvanas tier. I played it as an alt back then a little bit, so it's been a while. I'm going to try and brush up on it over the next few months, but as a non-demo lock, my read on this is this seems pretty sick. It seems like we've got a cool kind of Fellhound, Vile Fiend build. We've got a cool Doom build. Doom seems better. Maybe you're going to mix and match. Maybe you're going to focus on one of those. Our cooldown cadence is improved. We're getting an extra Demonic Core every time we Grimoire Felguard. That's great. You know, in these struggling economic times, it's great to get even one more drop of Demonic Core. Love it. All right, Warrior. Colossus. Practice strikes now affects Cleave and Revenge. Rally's been redesigned. When your health is brought below 35%, you gain a second wind, healing you for 12% of your max health over 2 seconds. This effect cannot occur more than once every 60 seconds. These kind of effects, these like ancestral, whatever the shaman one is, not guidance. I don't know what it is. These sorts of effects though, Mechanome passive, these kind of things where you get low, you get a heal, are not nothing, but they tend to be among the weaker defensive effects, unless they're tuned to be like as powerful as the free Frenzied Regen is for Druids, because that just heals for so much. 12% of max HP over 2 seconds, it's not nothing, but it's not one of the, like basically every hero talent tree has some kind of defensive thing in it, and this is probably one of the weaker ones compared to the ones that buff your damage reduction, those sorts of effects that a lot of hero talent trees do have. Dominance of the Colossus, damage taken debuff has been nerfed to a max of 5% from 10, and Mountain of Muscle and Scars damage taken reduction has been reduced to 2.5% from 5%. Okay, so nerfs on the DR side of things for Colossus Warrior, which is probably good. That was a lot of DR you could get on that tree. Slayer. Slayer's Reflexes has been renamed to Lethal Reflexes, resets the cooldown on Raging Blow for Fury, was Bloodthirst. Constant Pressure has been replaced with Opportunist. When Tactician resets Overpower's cooldown, or Raging Blow resets its own cooldown, your next Overpower or Raging Blow deals more damage and more crit damage. Slayer's Focus has been renamed to Slayer's Malice, now affects Raging Blow for Fury instead of Bloodthirst. Tunnel Vision has been replaced with Culling Cyclone. Each strike of Bladestorm deals an additional 20% damage, evenly split across all targets. Thrill of the Kill has been replaced with Brutal Finish. Your next Mortal Strike or Rampage after Bladestorm ends deals an additional 50% damage. Cool. Frenetic Flurry has been renamed and slightly redesigned to Reap the Storm. Overpower and Raging Blow have a chance to cause you to unleash a Flurry of Steel, damaging all nearby enemies and applying Overwhelmed, reduced beyond 8 targets. Unrelenting Onslaught now allows you to use Pummel and Stormbolt while Bladestorming. Sick. Love that. Death Drive's healing decreased to 15% of damage dealt by sudden death, was 50%. Slay, renamed to Show No Mercy. And Culling Cyclone / Brutal Finish and Lethal Reflexes and Opportunist choice nodes have swapped positions. Mountain Thane. Lightning Strike's chance for a Lightning Strike has been buffed, and they occur, but the chance during Avatar has been nerfed. Strength of the Mountain has been updated. Shield Slam damage increased by 10%, was 20, and now causes Demo Shout to reduce damage enemies deal to Prot Warriors by an additional 5%. New talent replacing Valorjar Training, Snap Induction. Activating Demo Shout or Recklessness grants a charge of Thunderblast. Sick. Flashing Skies has been updated. Thunderblast calls down a Lightning Strike on an enemy it hits. Steadfast as the Peaks has been updated. Stamina increased by 5%. Victory Rush increases your max health by 10% for 5 seconds. When this health increase expires, you heal for any amount of the original Victory Rush that healed you in excess of your full health. Cool. So this is actually setting up a nice like one-shot protection mechanism. Particularly as a DPS warrior, you can Victory Rush, or I guess you probably play Impending Victory to do this, at full health against a boss, and now you've got 10% increased max HP for the incoming damage hit, and then, you know, maybe that lets you live the one-shot, and then you get a bit of healing at the end of that as well. Very cool. 5% increased stamina is also just very big for one-shot protection. Keep Your Feet on the Ground now additionally increases your armor by 8%. Thunder Blasts now generate 10 Rage for Prot and Fury, was 5. They deal 20% increased damage for Prot Warriors. Burst of Power's chance to trigger from Lightning Strikes has been reduced, but note that you're getting more Lightning Strikes overall. Burst of Power now causes Affected Bloodthirst to deal 25% increased damage and generate 2 additional Rage for Fury Warriors. And they've moved around some nodes. Moving around nodes means absolutely nothing for hero talent trees for the purposes of like end game players, because you get your entire hero talent tree. It matters for leveling, and it matters like thematically to put the relevant things in the same branch as each other, and the things that are prerequisites of others ahead of the things that, you know, they're prerequisites for. But yeah, these sorts of patch notes you can effectively ignore if you, like me, are just kind of looking at what's going to matter once I'm done leveling. Prot Battlescarred Veteran's been updated. When a damage event reduces your health below 30%, the portion of that damage event that would apply to the last 30% of your health is also reduced by 80%. Cool. So previously, Battlescarred Veteran would proc after you took damage, right? And now it's going to proc on the hit that brought you to Battlescarred Veteran range as well. This is also going to be deployed to 10.2.7 over the next couple days. Log in. Prot Warrior, log in. Prot Warrior's already sleeper OP, I think. Sleeper good. All it takes is one tiny event at a Blizzard data center where the data for Vengeance Demon Hunter is all mysteriously deleted. And then Prot Warrior would be, I think, the best tank this season. But especially with this, like now Battlescarred Veteran, the problem is it's hard to talent it because you have there's so many good things you want to put your points into. Blood Surge, the stamina and armor node, a lot of good stuff to use your last point on. So Battlescarred Veteran competes with those, but the reason Battlescarred Veteran kind of sucked was that it didn't provide you good protection against dying, and it procced too often. Now it's still going to proc too often, but at least when it procs, like it's basically a cheat death. How can you ever die, right? If you were at 60% health and you took a damage event that dealt 400% of your health and damage, normally you'd be a little pancake. You'd be a tiny Prot Warrior shaped crater in the ground. Now, okay, 400% health damage is incoming, right? You take 30% of that, you're at 30%. So now you've got 370% of your damage income, or your health incoming. Pop open the old calculator. 370% is now being reduced by 80%. So now it's, okay, I guess it's still 74% of your health. So I guess you're still dead. But 400% of your health is an unrealistic number. Let's say you're at 60% health and you take a hit that deals 150% of your health and damage. That's a more realistic thing to be like, oh, I didn't have a shield block up and Balakar Khan hit me with his stick, right? Now you're at 150% damage is incoming. 30% of it goes through, so you got 120% left. Oops, 120% left. Now that is being reduced by 80%, and only 24% of your health and damage is taken, and bam! All of a sudden, you were at 60% of your health, a hit for 160% of your health comes in, and you survive at 6% health, but with an 80% DR, and you're gonna live. You're gonna be fine. Your gamer instincts are gonna activate. You're gonna be like, oh, I guess I should have shield block up. You know, you're gonna hit health potion or impending victory or whatever, and your group's gonna be like, wow, what a god tank, and you're gonna be like, I didn't have shield block up, that was my fault, and they're gonna be like, no, you were sick, it was incredible what you did to live there. I've never seen Avengers Demon Hunter live that, and you'll be like, no, really, you guys, you're the real heroes here. Monk has a new PvP talent, Absolute Serenity. Celestial Conduit now prevents Incapacitate, Disorient, Snare, and Root effects for its duration. Absolutely no comment on PvP changes, normally wouldn't read them, but this is a very small note, so we'll read that one there. And UI and accessibility. On the rated PvP screen, the button tooltips now include information about your current rank. Search functionality has been added to the spellbook, and things will match exactly related matches, name matches, and description matches, just like the talent tree. You can search that way in the talent tree, and there's different icons for each of those, which is sick. And there's now a checkbox to hide passives from displaying in the spellbook, which is great for whenever you want to be just like, oh, I'm rolling up a new character. My Avengers Demon Hunter got pancaked by Balakar Khan the last time I did not get offensive. So my group wants me to play Prot Warrior, the new meta now. I log onto my Prot Warrior, I don't have any things on my bars. Let me log in and quickly put all of my spells onto my bars. Now you pop open your spellbook, and you check this box, and you just see all of your active abilities, and it actually lights up which ones aren't on your bars yet. You just drag them down, kind of anywhere you want. Try and remember where you put spell block and shield block, and press those, and you're good. Rank 1 achieved. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. I thought there were more monk changes. I thought there was like a change to revival that I saw on Twitter, where it was like only dispelling 3 magic effects or something. I don't know, maybe that's not in this build or something. I don't know, I thought there was more there, but either way, hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.